You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Richie Bradshaw. I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Today's just going to be a fun little laid-back day. So we had some news that we're going to just hang out and talk about and shoot the stuff. There was some good news today. There was some bad news today. So the good news is that ASU was able to sign the entirety of their 2025 recruiting class, which I have a feeling isn't done yet because there's a handful of guys that didn't sign or decommitted and stuff like that. We'll keep an eye on that. I know there's a receiver. I want to say his name's Michael Harris or something like that, who decommitted from Oklahoma, and it was reported that ASU was in his top 4. I haven't heard anything yet, so we'll wait and see, but he's a 4-star receiver, so ASU might be able to add him. Until then, 21 of 21 of ASU's recruits for 2025 signed today, including your 4-stars Cameron Dyer and AJ Aya. Great news for ASU there. Aya is a tight end. He is 6'5", 240 from Orange, California. Orange Lutheran High School is where he attended. So he recently got bumped up to a 4-star recruit on 24/7, which is where I typically go for all my stuff. I don't know about you guys. I usually go to 24/7. So he got bumped up to a 4-star. His composite rank was a 4-star, so I'm pretty sure wherever you go, he's probably going to be a 4-star. ESPN, On 3 Rivals, all that good stuff. Love that they're adding him. Love that he's going to be in a room next year with Shimon Mateer and Jaden Fortier when he's healthy. I think Marqueston Douglas has another year of eligibility. I would have to take a look, but that's going to be a deep room, and developing him and Fortier together with Jason Mons, the tight ends coach, is going to be great. Cameron Dyer, really interesting situation. So he is listed as a quarterback on 24/7. He has already informed everyone that he will be transitioning to receiver when he gets to Arizona State, and he will be working with Hines Ward. If I'm not mistaken, Ward's the one who recruited. He sure is. Hines Ward is the one who recruited him. So he will be making that transition to receiver here. And then you have Kenny Dillingham spoke today and said that he's still going to get some opportunities at quarterback. Now, is he going to take over Levitt? No, not at all. Is he potentially quarterback 2? Maybe. I saw apparently Jeff Sims has another year of eligibility. So Sims could be back, which, I mean, you can do with that whatever you want. I'm not the biggest Sims guy in the world, but he's a veteran quarterback. Taking a run just for what it is. And then Dyer could be quarterback 3 or quarterback 4, depending on Navi Bruzon, who was the walk-on this year. So you're in a good spot with Cameron Dyer. And the thing that I love about him is being the athlete that he is, you're going to be able to just use him all over the place. And having that quarterback experience, which is what he did this year from, was it La Cueva High School? La Cueva High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's ready to have that kind of role for ASU. So the trick packages next year that Dillingham and that Arroyo were going to come up with, they're going to be so much fun because you're just going to see Cameron Dyer sitting in the backfield, and you might think it's a jet sweep or something, and then all of a sudden he's throwing it down the field to Jordyn Tyson. Speaking of Jordyn Tyson, he is out for the remainder of the season. He had surgery either yesterday or today. I think Dillingham said yesterday. As far as I know, he didn't specify the injury. I'm going to look right now from Cartman, who would have reported it first, more than likely. But he is going to be out for the year, which is unfortunate. But obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know that I said on Monday, this needs to just be a take it one day at a time. Okay, he did have surgery yesterday. Doesn't look like he specified at all what it is. We all know it's something upper body. The big guess that we seem to have is collarbone. So out for the year. That's a bummer. He obviously was one of your best offensive players for the Sun Devils this year. You definitely did not want to lose him, but it is what it is. Injuries are a part of the game, and ASU was just dealt a rough hand when it came to losing Jordyn Tyson. Now, it's not the end of the world. ASU is still in a good position to make a run in the playoff. You still have Cam Scadaboo, the people's running back, and he's going to be able to do a lot of damage for you. On the ground, he's going to get even a bigger role as a receiver, and he already has had a really good year as a receiver. I want to say he's, let me find Cam Scadaboo. I want to say he's around 400 receiving yards. He might be a little more than that. 2 touchdowns. He's at least like 13 yards per reception. I mean, he's just been bonkers this year. 468 yards, 13.4 yards per reception. So he has a real chance to get to 500 receiving yards this year, on top of the fact that he should be able to get no less than 1,500 rushing yards. He's still going to challenge Eno Benjamin for the single season rushing record for ASU, which is insane, especially when you remember he missed a game. But as long as you've got Scadaboo in that backfield, you've got a chance to beat anyone, which includes Iowa State this weekend. By the way, tomorrow's episode of Locked On Sun Devils is a crossover Thursday edition with my guy Nick Marv from our brand new Locked On Cyclones podcast for Locked On Iowa State. Nick is the best. Show him a lot of love and give him a lot of flack, for being a Cyclones guy. But that'll drop tomorrow morning. You guys are going to love it. It's a great conversation. Nick is awesome. Super easy to talk to. Very, very easygoing guy. Funny, which is typical of all of our Big 12 hosts. Everyone is funny, including Drake Toll, who I saw today. I was tagged in it by the Twitter account Commit to the Fork. If you guys aren't following Commit to the Fork, you should definitely follow them. They've got some absolutely phenomenal edits that they will do throughout the year and just roasting everyone. But they had called out Drake Toll, and Drake Toll agreed, Locked On Big 12's Drake Toll, the one that we all know and love, that if/when ASU wins the Big 12 championship, Commit to the Fork is going to buy Drake a hoodie for ASU, and it is going to be sent to him, and he has to wear it for a week. I will also be doing everything I can to pester Drake Toll into coming on to Locked On Sun Devils. I'm sure he will. Just depends on his schedule, but I'm not going to back down until he gets on here, and we'll have a good time, and we'll just hang out. But this was back to Jordyn Tyson. This was the news you didn't want. It was the news we kind of feared we were going to get, though. I know I had mentioned at the end of the day, you need to play for 2025. There's that hope that Tyson will come back for next year. I not only am very hopeful, I feel pretty good about it that he would come back. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but if no other reason, to get another year of tape and play with Sam Levitt again in the same offense with the same coaches, have another big season, and propel himself into the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. It's just a great situation for him. It's a great situation for ASU. It's a great situation for Sam Levitt. A lot of stuff makes sense. I feel like it makes too much sense, in my opinion, for him not to return to Arizona State. But, you know, we've seen stranger things happen. I'm just keeping my hope out that ends up being the case. But, yeah, this was a very busy day for the Sun Devils. Some really bad news, obviously, when it came to Tyson. But the biggest news we need to remember for National Signing Day is that ASU got their entire class. 21 out of 21 players signed their letters of intent today. Both of your 4-star kids. You got your Centennial High School kid from Corona, California, Corey Butler. You've got the offensive tackles you're bringing in. You've got your defensive backs you're bringing in. Michael Tollefson, your backup who's coming in next year. I don't think I mentioned him earlier either. I think I mentioned Jeff Sims, Cameron Dyer, and Navi Bruzon. Michael Tollefson is also going to be competing to be, at worst, the backup quarterback. And who knows, he was a former 4-star at one point in time. It's gone down a little bit, which just happens when it comes to recruiting. He could be the future of this program. So they really like Tollefson. Tollefson has also been committed for like a year and a half. So I can pull it up right here. Tollefson committed, or it's going to show me he signed. I should be able to go to his timeline here. He committed like last summer, June 20th of 2023. So yeah, almost a year and a half, Tollefson has been committed to Arizona State. He is signed. He's clearly all in on this program. A year and a half is a long time for these kids to weigh their options and potentially go somewhere else. It's just part of the game and part of the landscape that we have. But for Tollefson to be all in for a year and a half, commit to ASU, he's obviously ready for the competition. He sees what's going on at quarterback. So he sees Sam Leavitt, how great of a season Sam Leavitt has had. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Even if I have to sit a year or however long, I am here to play at Arizona State and I'm going to compete. That's the attitude you want from these kids. But you brought in a lot of very talented guys. You went hard with the Texas to Tempe kids. You recruited the offensive line. What I love on the offensive line is you got tackles, like not interior guys that you're going to move to the outside, but like true offensive tackles. So you got Alema Ayasua, I believe is how you say his name, from Las Vegas, 6'7", 292. You got Rob Lupaaho, I hope I'm pronouncing that right as well, from Salt Lake City, 6'6", 330. You got Deshaun Bryant from Duncanville, Texas, 6'4", 250 pounds. You have 4 offensive tackles. I really don't want to mispronounce his name. I'm going to do my best here. It's all that Polynesian, so my apologies if I mess it up. Manamoui Muti. I really hope I didn't butcher it too badly. From Wahiawa, Hawaii, 6'7", 320. You have 4 offensive tackles coming into this class. I can't remember the last time ASU had an offensive tackle class that good. Now, they've had all sorts of good linemen come through. This year's class, the 2024 cycle, had a bunch of interior guys, including Champ Westbrooks, who was recruited to play tackle and is moving outside. He's been doing some weight training. Really excited to see him. And, of course, friend of the podcast, Champ Westbrooks. So it's not as though they aren't recruiting guys to play tackle, but you have brought in guys who literally played offensive tackle full time in high school that you're bringing in 4 different guys. That's a really big deal, and it's something that ASU fans should be excited about. There's 6 offensive linemen in total. 4 of them play offensive tackle. That's great news, man. Looking at the rest of the class, you've got 2 quarterbacks if you include Dyer. So Tollefson would be the one. Dyer's recruited as a receiver. He's still listed as quarterback. You have 1 running back. The running back, Demarius Robinson. Is he the one whose nickname is Man? I can't remember. But Demarius Robinson is your running back recruit. You have 4 receivers, not including Cam Dyer. So you have 5 receivers in this class. You've got the offensive lineman. You've got your 4-star tight end. You've got a defensive lineman, 2 linebackers, 3 defensive backs, and 1 player who is listed for special teams. That is Lee Fuimana Ono, I believe. And I'm pretty sure he's going to play linebacker for you. I can't remember. We can try and look him up on a different platform, though, and see if Rivals or maybe not Huddle on 3 has him listed as a different position. Yeah, they have him listed as an outside linebacker. That's what I thought he was going to be. So they're going to build him up because he's 6 foot 215. But I mean, that's a good looking recruiting class. Is you were able to pretty much round out the team. Is there any position they didn't get? They got quarterback, they got a tight end, they got plenty of receivers, they got a special teamer who's going to be a linebacker for you. As far as kicker goes, I know that's going to be one of the questions you guys have. That's definitely going to be a portal ad for them. You would think that with the struggles you had this year, you would probably prefer to get someone that is very confident, and a name to keep an eye out for, and it's going to be a name that everyone is very familiar with if you've been following the Sun Devils for a minute, is Carter Brown. He kicked for ASU in 2021, right? Yeah, 2021, because 2 years ago was Dario Longhedo. So in 2021, Carter Brown kicked for you. He was pretty solid, and then he opted to transfer to Cincinnati. His first year there, he was pretty good. And then last year, this season, I suppose, he didn't really do too much. So I don't know if he got benched. I don't know if he got hurt. So 2 years ago at ASU, he was 11 of 14 on field goals. He missed one inside of 30 yards, and then from 40 to 49, he was 4 of 6. He was perfect between 30 and 39 yards, and he nailed the 53-yarder as his long. He was perfect on extra points, 33 of 33. 2 years ago for Cincinnati, he was 15 of 19 on field goals, 6 of 8 from 30 yards or less, 4 of 5 from 39 to 30, and 4 of 5 from 40 to 49. He also had a 54-yard field goal that year. And then this past season, he only attempted 5 field goals. He made 3 of the 5. So a very solid kicker for ASU. I really don't know what happened this past year. He only played in 2 games. I'm going to be under the assumption he got injured, but that's going to give him a red shirt. So he'll be a redshirt junior, which will give him 2 more years of eligibility wherever he goes. For what it's worth, he did like my tweets when I just put out, I said, hey, just friendly reminder, this kid did play at ASU. I would not rule out ASU as a possible spot for Carter Brown. All right, I've done a lot of talking. Let's go ahead and hop into the comments. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We got 26 people in here right now. What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. All right, Paul Madison, thanks for joining back again, Paul, one of my everydayers, or at least you're in all my streams. Decent class with some potential. We'll see how Dillingham and staff handle the transfer portal to continue filling out the roster. Future is good. Yeah, I like the future of this team. I've been very vocal about that on today's show. If you missed today's episode, I was talking about how good of a playoff run you could possibly get. Spoiler alert, I said you could win 2 games. So check that out and see the reason why I said you could win 2 playoff games. I talked about a worst case scenario for this year, which is going to like the Holiday Bowl, which is still pretty darn good for a team that wasn't supposed to even go bowling this year. Then we took a look at next year as well to round out the show that we dropped today. And next year is going to be a really fun season for ASU. You could return 35 of 44 possible players, including your starting 11 on both sides of the ball and the backups to those 11. 35 of 44 guys could return. 21 kids are coming in as true freshmen through this recruiting class, and ASU is going to be dominant in the transfer portal. I've made this prediction. I will continue to stand up to it. Is ASU is going to have one of the 5 best transfer classes in the entire nation this offseason. Future looks bright for ASU. I really like this recruiting class. I understand that a lot of people look at it and they go, oh, there's only 2 4-stars. And it does matter having 4 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars, stuff like that. It does matter. But how many times do we see 5-star guys don't pan out and 2-star guys or walk-ons or 3 stars, whatever, end up playing better than that? At the end of the day, right now, ASU's biggest goal is to bring in guys to the program that are going to help shape the identity of this team and continue to build on the culture that they are establishing. That's why I like this class and how big it is. 21 recruits for ASU. That's a really good looking class. Let's take a look at the last 2 years. It's been around that number. Last year's class was 19, or this year's class, I should say, and the 2023 class was 20. So this is your highest. And I said earlier, in case you are just joining in, I do not expect this class to be done. ASU is supposedly in on a couple of other guys to potentially flip them, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But they signed all 21 kids. I really like this class. Low Tone Capone, thanks for coming back in, my friend, throwing those forks up. You know we're throwing forks up here. Cesar Morales, appreciate you coming back in as well. What uniform combos are we hoping for? I don't really know. I haven't put in too much thought to that. So what'll be interesting is ASU obviously had so much bad luck with their whiteout jerseys this year, but they kind of changed that narrative this year. I'm not sure what the entirety of the record was for this year, but they did a really good job at, shattering that narrative, winning with our all whites. They were able to win on the road, win in the state of Texas. So if they did decide to do their all whites, I'd be about it. For what it's worth, since ASU is technically the number 1 seed here, as they finish the regular season first place in the conference, they do have the option to be the home team. So I would keep an eye out for some gold uniforms. Maroon, maybe. I'm not counting on maroon. They won't wear black. As long as we've got, I think my biggest hope would be either the yellow helmets with Sparky on it, or, I'll just stick with, I said yellow, the gold helmets, with the pitchfork on, or there it is. There you go. That's my other one. Either the gold helmets with the pitchfork or the gold helmets with Sparky would be my 2 personal choices. I would like, so if it's up to me, let me build this. So let's go Sparky helmet, gold helmet with Sparky. I'm going to say white tops with maroon colors, and we're going to go yellow pants. So lots of gold, get in the maroon lettering, and let's cook. That would be my personal. What do you guys want to see? So there's plenty of options. Again, something to remember is ASU's technically the home team here. So I would anticipate they're probably going to go with their home team colors. Jinx is in by Drake. Fun fact, Drake actually did take ASU to win this game 28-21. He is posting the video tomorrow on his accounts. You can still find it if you go to my Twitter, RichieBrads36. And I should put that up for you guys in case you're new here and haven't seen that yet. So if you find me at RichieBrads36 on my Twitter, he tagged me and Commit to the Fork. If you haven't followed them, you need to follow them. They're hilarious and they do tons of funny edits. And he had the clip of him picking ASU over Iowa State. Now, that wasn't on the Locked On Big 12 show that I could tell, but and I don't know if that's going to be like consensus what he's picking, but he did pick ASU just for what it's worth. JMO12, what's going on? I'm a bit worried that Tyson is out for the year. Unfortunately, he is out for the year, and it's not going to be impossible to win without him. It's certainly a lot more difficult, especially knowing how much Sam Leavitt put his trust into Tyson this year. Double-digit targets in probably every game this year. I mean, he was just hosing everything to him. It's going to be tough, and not a lot of other guys were receiving targets this year. Leavitt's going to have to prove that he can get some other guys involved. Scadaboo, obviously a good receiver. I've been pounding the table for Shimon Mateer all year long. Everyone is anticipating Xavier Guillory. I'm really excited for Xavier Guillory. When we do our game day preview, which will drop on Friday instead of Saturday, because the game is at 10 a.m. on Saturday, make sure you're up. And if you're in Tempe, go to Devil's Advocate. I will be there in my Locked On gear. Come over and say, hey, let's shoot the stuff. Guillory is someone that I'm really interested in, and I think he could have a really big game. So we'll figure it out. It's okay, JMO. Thanks for tuning in. Dishway, you guys got a dog and Cam Dyer. Alex D also saying Dyer is him. If you look at the highlights that he posted this year, and I know it's a highlight tape, but if you look at some of the stuff he posted, he's nuts. He's got a big arm. He's mobile, and they're going to be working on making him into a wide receiver. This guy is a weapon for ASU. People should be very excited about him. I would argue this might be, in the 3 years of Kenny Dillingham recruiting classes, he might be the most exciting recruit not named Jaden Rashada, because obviously Rashada's number 1, but Dyer might be number 2. I would put him ahead of Jason Brown. I'd put him ahead of AJ Aya and Jaden Fortier. Dyer's going to be fun. 6'4", 202, by the way, if you guys don't know. Paul Madison, recruiting rankings are fun for us fans. Yeah, exactly. It's fun for us to take a look at and go, wow, look at all the 4 stars ASU signed. Look at all the 5 stars, all that good stuff. Continuing what you said, they don't matter much to coaches. You think Cam Scadaboo was highly recruited. Look at him now. It's all about development, and this staff is proving to be adept. I think Scadaboo was maybe a 2-star when he was coming out of high school. And I know that Sacramento State was one of the only places that offered him a scholarship. They might have been the only ones who offered him a scholarship. So that's just more evidence for you guys that it's just about being a good player. He wasn't even ranked. He was not ranked. He didn't have a star or anything. He had 2 offers, one from Sacramento State and one from William and Mary. And then look at that. He transfers to ASU. He balls out at ASU. Now he's potentially an NFL draft pick and a next level player. That's what it's all about. You don't need to be the best guy on the field. You don't need to be a 5-star. It's exciting, and it typically means a lot when you are that highly rated coming out. It does mean something, but it's about being willing to get developed, listen to coaching, soak everything in, and get better, and Cam Scadaboo is the epitome of that. Alex D, ASU's 2024 transfer class was actually insane, top 5. I don't remember what they finished, but obviously we got some pretty good return on it. Let me pull that up right now. But, I mean, let's think of some of the guys they got. The 3 linebackers, Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook, Zyrus Fiaseu. All 3 of them have had massive impacts for ASU this year. Oh, wow. Believe it or not, it was only 30th. Your transfer class was only number 30 in the country last year. That's actually really, really crazy. What else did they get? Malik McClain, the receiver. Oh, very interesting. So Brad Denny put this out. Malik McClain is no longer wearing the scout team outfit in practices. He is fully dressed. And the reason why is per the new rules for redshirting in college football, I don't know if it's the same for the rest, playing postseason games, so bowl games, whatever, does not count against your amount of games that you can play that before you would be ineligible for redshirt. So even though he appeared in 3 or 4 games this year, he didn't record a stat. He could, in theory, play the entire postseason. So if ASU were to go to the national title game, he could play every single one of those games. So get ready to see Malik McClain on the field. But he was one of your guys that came in. Alt McCaskill, we didn't see too much from him. Zach Swanson was a big one. Shimon Mateer was a big one. Jacob Kongaika was a big one. Miles Rouser was a big one. Jeff Clark was a big one. You had a lot of guys. Josh Atkins was a big one. We're still waiting for Cole Martin because he got banged up this year, but he's going to be huge for you. There was a lot of really good players from this transfer class. Obviously, Sam Levitt, easily the best part of the transfer class. Raleek Brown was there. He's been banged up. We'll wait and see what happens. LT Wells, Javen Robinson. It was a really good recruiting class or transfer class. So even when you look and they put us at 30, we clearly had one of the 5 best transfer classes with hindsight, and I don't know who would have been better. So yeah, going into next year, double, triple, quadrupling down, however many it is at this point, ASU is going to have one of the best transfer classes next year. Put them down for top 5. All right, what else is going on in here? Dishway had the pleasure of being on the sideline with him this year, and I have some insider info. He's starting spring ball in the quarterback room. See, there you go. I thought that was a possibility for him. And I want to say Kenny spoke on that as well, but there you go. If you didn't know, Dishway is putting out the information here on Locked On Sun Devils that Cam Dyer is going to start spring practice in the quarterback room. We're still going to expect him to be playing with Hines Ward and the receivers. That's where he was recruited, but this is the way they should approach it. He is a quarterback by trade, and he's played quarterback at his time at La Cueva High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's got the athleticism. Some places have him listed as an athlete, not as a quarterback, which tells you that, yeah, he can play all over the place, and we should anticipate him to play all over the place. There's a lot of really good things that he can bring to your football team, and we should be really excited for Cam Dyer. Like I said, I don't know if you could name 3 other guys in Kenny's 3 recruiting classes who should be more exciting than Cam Dyer. And the only guy that I would probably name over him would be Jaden Rashada. What else we got going on? JMO 12. Scattaboo is a mix of Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. Dude, could you imagine if he even lived up remotely to that kind of status? I currently don't have a comparison for him, but you look at a guy who is 5'11", what do they have him listed at? 5'11", 215, but he just runs guys over. Like, he plays like he's 6'5", 250, but then he catches the football like he's some kind of scat back, like a Darren Sproles or whatever, like he's 5'8" and 190 pounds. He just blends everything perfectly to where you have this running back that does whatever you need him to do, even though you can't really slot him as a power back or as a receiving back. He's just a very well-balanced back. He's also a great one-cut guy who can make you miss in open space. He's going to run you over, but he's going to make you stupid. You can make you look stupid, too. He is going to make you stupid when people look back at your tape and see how he's putting you on skates. Scattaboo's phenomenal. So, yeah, he doesn't need to be some 5-star to get the recognition, because at the end of the day, he came into the program, he worked his tail off, and now he is where he is. Lotone Capone, bring all the Cams to Tempe. Yeah, dude, I don't care if you're 2-star or 5-star. If you got the work ethic that Cam Scattaboo has, you have a place here in Tempe, Arizona. He played wideout his sophomore year at La Cueva. Great film as well. Good to know. Regarding Cam Dyer, is he played wideout his sophomore year at La Cueva High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I will have to check that out. Joseph Ada, I can't remember what we agreed on. What is going on? Thank you so much for tuning back in, my friend. I know you've been here before. He's like Alstott, but a halfback instead of a fullback. Oh, yeah, with hands. That's some high praise right there. How big was Alstott when he was playing? I can't remember what he measured at. Of course, they're not going to have it on ESPN. All good. We will just go to good old-fashioned Google. Take a look at Mike Alstott. What was his nickname? Wasn't the truck stick? God, I can't remember. He had an awesome nickname, though. No Wikipedia. I would not like to donate right now. 6'1", 248. So a couple of inches and quite a few pounds on Scattaboo. But, I mean, I don't hate that comparison. They may not be overly similar in how they're built, but they're similar in how they play. I think people forget that Alstott was a really good receiver when he was in his heyday with the Buccaneers. He was a really good receiver. He had, can I see the receiving stats? 305 catches over the course of an 11-year career. Remember, he's a fullback during this time. He was a really good football player. Really, really good. God, I can't find his nickname on here. You would have thought that they would have his nickname somewhere on his Wikipedia page. He has a nickname. A-Train. Thank you, JMO. A-Train. That was his nickname. Oh, there it is. Nice and bold. If I just, wanted to look a little bit harder. He's the A-Train we like, but we do appreciate a good redemption story for another A-Train. If you get that reference, you're the best. Yeah, nickname was A-Train. Joseph, I was born in 02. Just be happy I know who Alstott is. Dude, you've got a new generation of people that are watching ASU football and kids that are in college now who don't know who Alstott is, and that's fine. It's a relic from another era. And nowadays, you don't even have fullbacks that play full-time roles anymore. So it's very easy to not know who Alstott was, or Larry Centers way back when for the Arizona Cardinals, or was the Phoenix Cardinals back then, who just caught the heck out of the football too. Like, you have these fullbacks who are really good receivers. Now, Cam is not a fullback. He's not nearly big enough, and I don't want him to be a fullback because he's just a good runner. He's a good running back. There's a reason why in his career he's averaging 6.1 yards per carry, 5.7 this year, 4.8 last year, and consider the state that Arizona Arizona State football was in a year ago. He's also an elite receiver, 12.2 yards per reception for his career. If you don't know this, running backs, when it comes to catching the football, you're happy with anywhere between 6 to 8 yards per reception. 12.2 for Scadaboo is insane. He's also never had less than 10.3 yards per reception in his career for a season. Scadaboo is phenomenal. So he's going to do everything at the next level. So, wow, we've already been going for 35 minutes. That's crazy. So these lives are a blast, and I'm glad we went live today. We will definitely be going live either Saturday night or Sunday morning to go over the ASU Iowa State game. And I would like to try and do a live at least once a week. It seems like you guys like these quite a bit. So we're definitely going to try and keep those up. This is a really good time, but let's go ahead and start winding this thing down as we get to the 36-minute mark. Back to our topics for the show. Yeah, it's a big-time bummer that Tyson is out for the year. It's not the end of the world. You've got an Iowa State team that is just, quite frankly, they're dreadful against the run. Sonny Che, of course, this is a safe space. It's always a safe space for ASU fans. Don't you worry. We're here for you. You say what you got to say. As long as it's PG, I'll be able to read it. If you put something that's not, I mean, it'll still be there. I just can't read it out loud. But safe place, Sonny Che, of course. Alex, do you have the stats of our wide receivers, like targets, reception? I don't have targets, but I do have the stats here, which is where we were going. So perfect segue. So yeah, Tyson's out. You playing on what I did bring up. Iowa State is one of the worst defenses in the Big 12 against the run this year. So we're going to see a lot of Cam Scadaboo. I would anticipate a lot of Kyson Brown too. So Kyson Brown very quietly has 66 carries this year. He's easily going to pass 70. I wouldn't be surprised if he was close to 80 carries on the season by the end of this game. ASU is just going to run the heck out of the football. But when they throw it, and keep in mind, Sam Leavitt has gotten a lot more confident as a passer as the season has gone on. Like, yeah, he still is forcing all his targets to Jordyn Tyson. 75 catches for Tyson. Next closest is Cam Scadaboo with 35. Tyson is his favorite guy. That's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. So it's going to be a challenge for him to spread the ball out, but it's not impossible. Him and Guillory have connected for some nice balls this year. He had a really good touchdown reception against Kansas 2 weeks ago against BYU. He had the 61-yard touchdown. They've got guys for him to connect with. Melkon Stovall remains a really good veteran option for Leavitt to check the ball down to. I know we haven't seen a lot of Jake Smith or Troy O'Mary this year, but now's the time for them to step up. And then I mentioned Malik McClain, who initially redshirted earlier in the season. He is eligible to play the entirety of the postseason, no matter if it's 2 games or if it's 5 games, however many ASU could possibly play. He can play in all of them. So they're going to have him on the field too. They've got options for him at receiver. Alex, as far as your stats go, so Guillory is 4th on the team in receptions with 17. Stovall is behind him with 13. And then after that, you have single digits for Jake Smith and Troy O'Mary and so on. Receiving yards, Guillory is 3rd on the team with 291. He's got 17.1 yards per reception. Stovall is 6th on the team with 162 yards. He's tied with Kyson Brown, but keep in mind, Kyson has had 2 huge catches this year, including the 68-yard touchdown in week 1. So I would consider Stovall to be your 5th leading receiver with the same number of yards, and he's just been a more consistent guy. So Stovall's there with 162 yards, a really, really solid 12.5 yards per reception. I would have thought it would be lower. So it's going to be a challenge to get this receiving core going. Guillory's going to have a good game. I am not only manifesting it, but I also just have a good feeling that this is going to be, I wouldn't call it a breakout game for Guillory, but it's going to be his best game of the season. We'll see. I've got a bold prediction for him coming on Friday's show. I'm not spoiling it now, so you got to make sure that you check that one out. The best way to do that is to subscribe and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stovall, I think, is going to have a good day. I would anticipate a big-time run game. I'd go 70-30, probably 70% running, 30% passing. It's also an elite passing defense. It's not only the best in the Big 12, it's top 5 in the country for their passing defense. It's phenomenal. They've got a ton of NFL players in that secondary. They've got all conference players. It was already going to be hard to throw the football. It's going to be even more difficult without Tyson. So expect a lot of running in this game, but that's okay because I still think Guillory could have a role. I think Stovall will have a good game. They are going to focus a lot on getting Cam Scadaboo the ball out of the backfield, and they're going to focus on getting Shimon Mateer touches when they get into the red zone. Expect a lot of running in this game. They're not going to throw the football, but I would anticipate it to be a lower amount of passes for this game. If we take a look at Sam Levitt and his game log, the lowest amount of attempts he's had this year was 18 against Utah. And if we go to that Utah game, every other game, he has had no less than 20 attempts. Against Utah, they had a really good running day against Utah. I know that Cam had himself a nice outing. No, I don't want that. I don't want Utah. I want the box score. There we go. ASU ran it 37 times compared to 20 attempts. They also only gave up 1 sack. So you had 36 carries. Scottaboo went for 158 yards. Levitt actually managed 22 rushing yards. He needs to get going in the ground game in this game. I really appreciate how much he has grown as a passer and how he doesn't feel the need to run. I'm begging you, you got to run in this game, Sam. You are a true dual threat, and ASU is going to need all the help they can get on the ground. Hopefully we see some DeCarlos Brooks. We're going to see Kyson Brown. They're going to run the heck out of the football in this game. Don't expect a lot of passing. I would say no more than 20 attempts. I would consider a season low in attempts, but 17 is not a lot. That would pretty much mean that ASU is ahead in the game for most of the 60 minutes of game time and that they are just on clock control. But we'll see. All right, let's wrap this up. Sean Anderson, what's going on, Sean? Imagine if our offense had Elijah Badger and he didn't transfer. So here's the thing, and I've thought about this a lot because it would be amazing if Badger didn't transfer. But my question is, because of Levitt's, I don't want to call it tunnel vision, but because of his, what's the word I'm trying to use? His, not effort, I don't know, and not willingness either, because of how much he likes to target Tyson is essentially what I'm trying to say, is that, does that turn into Elijah Badger? And now we don't see a lot of Jordyn Tyson. I don't know that Sam Levitt was ever going to be a big-time distributor this year. It just looks like whoever wide receiver 1 was going to get those options, which ended up being Jordyn Tyson. Now, if Elijah Badger is here, I would tell you Badger has just as productive a year, because I think people forget how good Elijah Badger is. He's going to be playing on Sundays. I just don't know if you would have seen Tyson still catch. Let's give Elijah Badger Jordyn Tyson stats. 75 catches, 1,101 yards, 10 touchdowns. Your second leading receiver was Guillory, 17, 291, 3. I don't think Tyson is that low, but how much better is he? Your third receiver is Shimon Mateer, 28, 285, and 5. That feels closer to what I would expect from Tyson to have gotten if Badger was still here. But you would still have Elijah Badger. So even if Tyson was out, you still have a number 1 receiver. It's a fun thought, and it's one of the reasons I hate the spring portal. Hate it. Can't stand it. But another conversation for another time. We'll wait and see. It would have been awesome for Badger to stay. He didn't stay. It is what it is. All right, Alex, I'm going to answer these questions, and then we are going to wrap it up. Do you think we will see a lot of the fullback end, maybe with Scat and Kyson out at the same time? So we saw that last year was they would put DeCarlos Brooks at fullback and they would alternate between that power run and just the fullback dive with DeCarlos Brooks. We haven't really seen it too much this year, and I would love for ASU to bring back that strategy for this game, is having the option and the opportunity to give the football to a fullback, but ASU doesn't have a traditional fullback, so DeCarlos Brooks is perfect. Line up Brooks at fullback, give him those dives, and he'll be able to get the chunk yards. They did that week 1 last year against Southern Utah, and they had wildly good success against it. Ooh, it's Southern Utah. It's still a very different strategy. Not a lot of people are willing to play a running back at fullback. I would love to see that. All right, last question here, or last comment, I should say, from Alex again. We've seen Mateer be a safe target. Look, he had that bad drop in the end zone against BYU. Otherwise, I would say at least 80% of the time that you've looked Mateer's way this year, he has been a pretty consistent option for you. It's the reason why I love him so much and the reason why I gas him up so much on Locked On Sun Devils. I would love to see a breakout game from Mateer this year. Of course, as soon as I close the tabs for the stats I was looking at is when I wanted to see what Mateer's best game was this year. But he's got 5 touchdowns, so he's no stranger to the end zone, and he could have had 6. His most productive game, he's had 2 games with 5 catches. Texas State, 5 catches, 57 yards. He had a drop in that game too. Oklahoma State, 5 catches, 53 yards, and 5 touchdown catches in 5 different games. So he spaces it out. He's someone that Levitt likes. Don't be surprised if Mateer has himself a really good day. All right, this has been a nice and long live. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. This is a blast as always. Like I said, we will be live again either Saturday night or Sunday morning to go through the Big 12 championship game with hopefully a win for ASU and a ticket punch to the college football playoff. No matter what, we'll talk about it. And if you are in Tempe looking for a place to watch the game, I've heard Devil's Advocate is a good place. I also heard that Locked On Sun Devils host Richie Bradshaw will be at Devil's Advocate on Saturday for the game. Come and say hi. I'll be in my Locked On gear. I should be easy to find. Let's shoot the stuff and have a good time. Let's go, Sun Devils. Make sure you have notifications turned on. Tomorrow's show is going to be the crossover with my guy, Nick. And we're gonna have a good conversation about ASU versus Iowa State. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys Friday. I'll see you Saturday, hopefully in person, but I'll always see you on the podcast. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On